you own a ton of domain names, right?
Yeah, I bought a bunch.
Like, how many do you own now? Or how many
Well,
have
I
you
mean,
owned?
I won't count all. I mean, I own hundreds and hundreds, but the ones that are top level primary domain names, about 16. Like words in the English language that everybody understands. Like I own Emma, Frank. I own my own name. I own Michael.com. I also own my nickname, Mike.com. So like my personal website, I've got it on Michael.com. You just type Michael.com, you see all the stuff about me. Hope.
Yeah, Sam, go to hope.com, see where that takes you.
Go to hope.com. Yeah, well, actually, Bitcoin is hope. So if you type hope.com, you'll get everything there is to know about Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
Because I actually repath hope to all of our Bitcoin resources and materials. Speaker. I owned voice.com, and I sold it for $30 million a couple of years ago. That's the largest naked domain sale in the history of domains.
Tell the short version of that story. The story is kind of crazy. I've heard it once before, but I would assume Sam and most people have not heard the story of selling voice.com. Mm-hmm. You bought all these early on in the web. You kind of recognized, these are probably going to be valuable to own these names. There's only one, there's only one owner of each of these names. You own it and you hold it for a really long time, like over a decade. And at some point you decide, okay, maybe we should see if somebody wants to buy some of these. So tell the story of selling voice.com real quick.
Well, yeah, I bought all these domains because I thought, wouldn't it be great to own a part of the English language? I mean, owning Hope or owning Voice. I mean, eventually there'll be a Google Voice, or there'll be, some telco company that'll want to launch some service, and what a great domain to launch on a word like voice.com. So we held them a long time, and I think at some point we were looking for joint ventures. We were looking to commercialize them, and we did commercialize a bunch. For example, I created a company called Alarm.com, and Alarm.com is now publicly traded on NASDAQ. It's like $4 or $5 billion market cap company. And you can guess what it does. It actually integrates your home alarm into the internet, and I created another company called Angel.com, and we sold that for a bit more than $100 million. And that was actually a speech, interactive voice response like Siri or Alexa before Siri and Alexa came along. And so I had voice and I was holding it, and we were looking for some kind of good commercialization, and someone out of the blue, they contacted us, one of the domain brokers, and they said, well, do you want to sell it? We'll give you $150,000. And I was like, someone came to me and said, they offered $150,000. I said, no. So I thought nothing of it because I couldn't see the point. A week later, they come back and said, well, they doubled it to $300,000. I said, tell them no. So a couple of days later, they go, well, the broker's really insistent. And so they went to $600,000. I said, no. So they said, well, what should you say? I said, don't tell anything. Tell them, like, we're not interested. It's got to be something serious. So they went to 1.2 million. I said, tell them no. I said, well, they want to know what you want for it. I said, send them a note or something and just tell them. I said, it's the word voice in the English language, right? So it's going to have to be something, north of, I don't know. I don't think I said 7 or 8 figures, but I just said a lot of money. And so it went on, and they doubled again to 2.5 million, and then 5 million, and then around 10 million. Then they said, I had like 18 people in my office. They're like, or not 8, but eight people. They're like looking at me like, are you going to take the money? It's like a lot of money now. I said, no, send them back. At this point, send them back a note pointing out that this is like the word voice in the English language, and it's worth $1 billion to the right company. And they said, well, you're going to give them a response? I said, okay, tell them 30 million. Tell them I'll take 30 million for it. because I thought like if I didn't give them some number, they would stop negotiating after 5 no's. So I said, tell them 30 million. I don't want to sell it for 30 million. I want to sell it for 100 million or more, but I guess I'll say 30 million. So at that point they said, well, they offered you, I think they upped their offer to like 12 million. I said, tell them no, but if you want, I'll take a meeting with them. So when it got to 12 million, I said I'd get on the phone for half an hour. So then we got on the phone and the call started with someone saying, well, how about 22 million? And I said, let me explain. This is like my daughter. Like I'm willing to like marry her off, but only to a man that values her more than I value her. So I value this domain, at 30 million. And so if you don't want to give me the 30, I'm going to regret after I sell it anyway. I'll have seller's remorse, but I would do it just to make the market. But if you don't want to value it at 30, I'll just keep it. And they're like, okay, we'll give you 30. I said, okay.
So 30, you got it to 30 from 100K.
So they did like double 7 or 8 times. And I eventually, they started 150K, I think. And we ended it. And I said 30, we ended at 30. But the point was, I didn't really need the money. It was a matter like if I had at the point maybe 600 million in cash in the bank, and the company, the MicroStrategy is a multi-billion-dollar company. So I was like, $1 million's not going to move the needle for me. 100,000 is not going to move the needle for me. 10 million is not going to move the needle one way or the other. So there's no point in doing it unless it was something material.
Were you like, the 8 people in your office, were they like your coworkers or? I mean,
it's business development. The people that wanted the commission on the deal,
So
basically.
like most,
it's a big deal, right? They want to like do the deal, and the only way you get 30 million is to like say no to 22 million, right? And
like most reasonable people, which the reason you are where you are is many would probably consider you not reasonable, right? I mean, you're an extreme personality type, and that's why you're very successful. But any reasonable person would say, "What are you, an idiot? Like you paid nothing for this. Take it." Were you always that? Like
my view on it is that the English language is going to be important to the human race for 1,000 years, and in 1,000 years from now, voice will probably still have value, just like a lot of like hope. It's a valuable word forever. I mean, until you murder everyone that speaks the English language. If you think about how valuable it is, my real view is I think people are crazy for spending hundreds of millions of dollars on ad campaigns to market a brand that's a misspelling of a normal word. It's like, I got to convince you how to sell injunction with like 2 Y's and a Z, and I'm like, why would you do that? Because in the modern era of spell checkers, when you try to type these crappy brands that are misspelled, your iPhone unspells it for you or properly spells it. So try going to a website that's a misspelling of a name. Most brands and most brand consultants, I just disagree with them all. They charge you a lot of money to come up with a misspelling of a common word, and then you spend $500 million marketing the brand. A much better idea would be buy the word hope or angel or alarm or alert or voice, even if you got to pay $100 million or $200 million or $500 million. Because if I see your ad and you tell me that, your brand is alert.com, I can remember it in 1 second. I can spell it in 1 second. You leap immediately to the top of the Google search engine. So I always view domains as being undervalued, and then people spend hundreds of millions of dollars on crappy marketing to send someone to a place they can't spell, that they can't remember. I think the world will gradually come around to that point of view, but they're not there yet. So that was my view. Like, I didn't want to sell it, to tell you the truth. Like, if you owned the word angel or the word alarm or the word hope or voice. Like, the truth is, Google should have paid $1 billion for the word voice. I mean, if they're going to try to launch a voice service, it's worth it to them. And eventually, what you're going to see is Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google are just going to keep generating more money. But the word voice or the word hope or the, fill in the blank, any kind of positive, easy to spell, short word in the English language is going to be an awesome place to build a brand.